talk all about how to structure phone and text outreach that will maximize voter engagement. We're here to make sure that everyone leaves this calls knowing how to avoid common pitfalls and campaign wasting mistakes that are related to texting and call campaigns. And ultimately, we want you to be able to use goodparty.org's tools to refine, launch, and track outreach that you're doing on your campaign and set you up to be able to run a winning campaign. We are joined by two panelists today. One is our expert who's going to be talking all things texting, and that's Derek Lane, who I'll let introduce himself in a moment. And we also have a member of our product team, Tevin Bell, who's going to walk you through a guided demo of how to use goodparty.org's tools. Derek, why don't we start with you? Can you introduce yourself, share some of your bona fides as a text and phone call specialist, and tell them a little bit about what you do here at goodparty.org.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Rob. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for being here to learn about phone banking and texting today. I'm Derek Lane. I am the Senior Campaign Success Manager over here at goodparty.org. I have been working on campaigns now for most of the last 15 years, basically my entire adult life. And last year, I helped Good Party send out 4.2 million texts. So I've got a lot of text messages under my belt, and I'm excited to share some of that knowledge with you guys here today.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to dive right into it, and I want to start by talking about one of the most foundational tools in a campaign outreach strategy, especially in the last 30 or so years, and that's phone banking. It's not flashy. It's incredibly effective, though, when it's done right and when you're not wasting the effort on the wrong targets. Derek, with all the digital outreach tools that are available, why is phone banking still important, and how can it be used effectively?
Yeah, I think phone banking still matters because at the end of the day, nothing replaces a human voice. Nothing is going to beat human-to-human contact for your campaign. And for independent and the sort of non-traditional candidates who are running outside of the two-party structure, it is one of the best ways to start building trust in your community. It's one of the best ways to share your story and your sort of why sort of why you decided to run, and really have meaningful, direct conversations with voters. So these calls, I mean, essentially do what digital ads and what text messages and basically every other form of voter contact outside of door-to-door canvassing gives you, which is hearing the voters, making sure they feel heard, and make sure that they're personally connected to the campaign. So especially, I think, when you don't have a big party machine backing your campaign, these one-on-one conversations really are the greatest asset you guys have in your tool belt.
Awesome. Well, I want to remind folks, there's a Q&A button that you can use to ask questions at any time during this presentation, and I'll try to weave them into the flow of conversation naturally. We'll also do a full 15 minutes of Q&A at the end of this call, so feel free to flood the zone with questions. I know that there are a bunch that were submitted ahead of time as well. But Derek, to get back to talking about phone scripts and phone calls, what is it that makes an effective phone script? What should campaigns be focusing on, especially in the first conversation that they have with the voter on the phones?
Yeah, I think an effective phone script is short, it is conversational, and it is goal oriented. Your job on that call as a candidate or a volunteer, if you're here supporting a candidate, is not to win a debate. I have made probably hundreds of thousands of phone bank calls over the last 15 years, and I can tell you I have won exactly 0 debates during any of those phone calls. So your job during this phone call is to identify sort of where the voter stands on the race as it currently exists, right? You need to know, are they a supporter? Are they undecided? Do they want more information about you in the campaign? That's the data that you need to come out of these conversations on the phone. The best scripts ask, 1 or 2 very clear questions, and ultimately invite the voter to share something. In an ideal phone bank conversation, you are listening far more often than you are speaking. And I think tone matters a lot, especially for that first conversation. You want yourself and your volunteers to sound like real people, not robots, not telemarketers or anything like that.
Yeah, so authenticity sounds like it matters a lot. And then I like what you're saying there about you're not trying to argue with the person, you're trying to identify uh, and you're trying to present your best message, essentially. Getting into an argument and trying to convince somebody or win somebody in that argument, that feels like a pitfall. What are some other common missteps that you see campaigns make with their call programs? And what are some ways that people can course correct if they find themselves falling into these bad habits?
Yeah, I think one big one, and this for all the candidates I've worked with over 15 years, this seems to be the biggest issue, but overloading your phone call. Some candidates try to explain their entire campaign platform over the course of a 3 to 4 minute phone call. And I promise you that is not the goal. That is not effective. You guys have essentially 30 seconds to 1 minute to get your point across to this voter. And if you are giving them your entire campaign platform, chances are they're not going to remember anything you said other than you gave them a call. So, like I said before, you guys want to go in there with one or two very specific questions. That's ultimately what you're going for. The second mistake I see, and this is, campaigns are data gathering operations for all intents and purposes. And in order to do this effectively, you guys need to be logging the results of every single phone call you make. You need to know who supports you, who's going to need a follow up to do some message persuasion, and you'll ultimately identify those folks who you shouldn't be talking to at all, that you shouldn't be spending any resources to reach out to. So, I mean, like I said, the very best conversations start with listening. They end with listening. They should not just be somebody reading off the script.
Yeah, listening feels like it's key. And, trying to cram a whole platform into one call just overwhelms people. So that's huge. And then your point about tracking responses is the whole point of outreach, right? You're trying to measure where people are. So when you come back to them, you're either reaching them with persuasion or you're turning them out to vote. And you can't do that if you don't know where they lie from that initial call. Just a small follow-up on this. If you find yourself, making a mistake on one of these issues, what do you think is the quickest fix, Derek? Is it tightening up the script? Is it retraining volunteers? Is it some combination of the two or something else altogether?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of the two. I think for one, if you have volunteers who are helping you do your phone bank calls, and they are identifying either language that's really clunky when they're trying to read it off the script, or sort of the opposite end, if they find language that seems to be working very, very well to get your why across, to get folks to sign up to volunteer, like that's a feedback loop that should be built into your script. Your volunteers and your experience on the phone should absolutely help you sort of pare that script down, get it down to its basics, and keep it nice and concise. The other thing is training volunteers to do phone banking is not a one-time deal. It's not just train them at the beginning. You should spend some time, or somebody that you designate as a volunteer coordinator should spend some time while folks are doing phone bank calls and coach them, on how to be more concise, or to make these phone calls, to push them to listen more, right? But training is an ongoing process with your volunteers. Scripts are an ongoing thing that you should be adjusting throughout the course of the campaign when you find language that works better.
Mhm. And when it comes to these phone calls, when should campaigns be making these calls? What types of scripts should they be using? And how often should they be reaching out to the same voter?
Yeah, I think how many times you reach out to a voter. I'm going to say, I'm going to narrow it down a little bit. How many times should you reach out to voters using the same specific channel or same specific tactic, like phone banking or texting or social media ads, right? For phone banking specifically, the best times are going to be weekday evenings after work, sort of weekend mornings, late mornings. If you live in a place that has high church attendance, I would maybe wait until 11:30 noon time on a Sunday. But you want to call people when they're home. It's fairly simple. Call them after work. In all my time phone banking, and this might be a phrase I picked up from Rob when I was much younger and had far less gray hair, but was the 7 to 8 o'clock block being power hour for phone banking. That's when you're sort of going to miss the dinner crowd. Folks are going to be home, and you're when you are most likely to actually get somebody on the phone and have them engage in a conversation with you. In terms of frequency, I generally recommend like a 3-touch strategy over the course of the campaign, and sort of what specific types of touches are going to be informed a lot on how they answer some of the candidate ID questions that exist in the first call. But you're going to want one fairly early on in the cycle, shortly after you announce, if you have the ability to get folks on the phone. Like the best time to start phone banking, in my opinion, is probably yesterday, right? But pretty early on in the cycle, you want to do what I'm going to call an ID call, right? Getting that voter, figuring out how they feel about the race. A follow-up call or a reminder call that comes closer to the beginning of early voting or absentee voting, depending on where you live, the mail-in ballots, and then a final get out the vote call right before election day or throughout the day on election day. So I don't think anybody here has to sort of reinvent the wheel. I promise it's just as intuitive as it sounds, but at the end of the day, you have to show up consistently to your constituencies, to your voters, to the folks who live in your community, and you're gonna call them approximately 3 times over the course of the campaign.
Yeah, I think the 3-touch strategy can be a real game changer. Another tool in the toolkit that I wanted to ask you about before we start to talk about texting a little bit are robocalls, right? So they sometimes get a bad rap, but when used thoughtfully, they can play a smart role in a campaign's outreach. And they're one of the things that goodparty.org's outreach tools can help to schedule for people really easily. Can you say a little bit about how you typically use robocalls, how they fit into an overall phone strategy, since we've been mostly talking about live dials, and when do you think that robocalls are most effective?
Yeah, so robocalls, also called voice broadcast campaigns, if you are working on the legal side of things, is a pre-recorded message that you can send out to landlines. It is a landline specific tactic right now, but it allows you to record a voice message. Ideally, we're looking between 45 and 90 seconds that I think is very effective in specific use cases. The first being your intro bio campaign announcement. This is a good way to very quickly hit a lot of folks with your why message. I think its most effective use cases are as almost apolitical early vote and get out the vote reminders. These are not framed as persuasion messaging. This is generally just giving folks the information they need to go out and vote, when their polling place is open, where their polling place is. If you live in a state that requires voter ID, letting them know that they should bring their ID to the polls. And the other sort of channel and tactic I see robocalls as very effective is if you get a significant endorsement for your campaign. Typically, this is somebody higher up the political food chain who has some sort of built-in following. But those are sort of the use cases that I see it used most effectively. But the apolitical get out the vote reminders, I think, is like the number one most effective use case for a robocall voice broadcast campaign.
Awesome. Awesome. So robocall is really powerful, especially if you have an endorser. You know, this is somebody who's probably not going to sit on the phone and do dials for you, you know, for hours and hours and hours. But if you get the endorsement of a state senator or a local figure, it's a good way to blast that out and make sure as many people as possible are hearing that this person is supporting your campaign. I'm going to drop in the chat. Derek's put together some just best practices around doing phone calls in general. And Derek, I want to give you a chance to sort of run through these, starting up with standing up when you're calling. This kind of sounds like a little bit of a funny one, but actually standing while you're calling rather than doing it sitting at a desk if you're able.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll run through some lightning round best practices here. Standing up while you're calling, like Rob says, it does sound a little silly, and some of these are going to sound corny. I'm gonna throw that up and give you guys a little heads up about this. But your energy naturally increases when you are standing, which makes you sound more confident and makes you more engaged in the conversation. So candidates and volunteers who stand while they make their dials, they sound more natural. They're more persuasive, even over the phone, even though they can't see you standing, it comes through in your voice. And I think something very similar to this, and this is a phrase that I'm almost positive I got from Rob back in the day, but smile while you dial. It is unbelievably effective. It is the number one advice I give to candidates, whether they're doing ID calls or doing fundraising calls or doing endorsement calls. It really works. When you smile, it physically changes your tone, makes you sound warmer, more confident, and more approachable at the end of the day, which is what you want when you are calling strangers, right? So I know that voters can hear the difference. A friendly tone matters most of the time more than the exact words that you say. Let's see, I'm gonna Rob, thank you. Mirror the voter's tone and pacing. Mirroring is a sort of a little bit more of an advanced tactic, but one that I think if you can nail will dramatically change the output of your phone bank conversations. And what I mean by mirroring their tone is that if they sound formal, sound more polished. If they are casual or rushed, like feel free to drop the pretension a little bit. Keep it snappy, match their communication style, and that's going to quickly help you build the rapport that you need with that candidate. Use the voter's name early in the conversation. That's how to make friends or whatever, right? It's a very common one. You should say their name. It should be one of the first things you say. Hey, I'm looking for Rob, right? And you should use Rob throughout the conversation. Generally speaking, you should refer to people by their name. I'm going to say that it's a general good life rule. This is a big one. Pause after asking a question. We call this a golden silence. I don't care if you're asking for an ID or if you're asking for $2,500. As soon as you make an ask of somebody, be quiet. Stop talking. Voters will rush to fill that silence in. Give the voter space to actually respond to you. That's huge. Again, these are exercises in listening more than they are about talking. So give them space to actually speak. And last, keep a call wins tally. Whatever thing is you're tracking, whether it's IDs, whether it's dollars raised, whether it's voters persuaded, folks you convinced to vote, celebrate your victories. That is huge. It is the way you will continue to stay motivated while you make these calls, which I think for most people, that's the hardest part, is staying motivated while they make their calls. The calls themselves, after you've done your first 100, honestly, they get pretty easy after that. But I think making sure you're aware of where your morale is, where your volunteers' morale is, that gets a whole lot easier when everybody's celebrating the tallies up on the board.
Awesome. So just recapping really quickly, it's stand up while you call, it's smile while you dial, mirror the voter's tone and pacing, Use their name as often as you can in the conversation. It keeps people engaged. I know whenever someone says my name, my ears perk up. And pause after asking a question. Let the voter sort of fill the silence. First person to talk loses is sort of the game that we play. And then keep a call win tally. Motivate people based on the combined effort and the individual efforts that are getting things done. So we've talked about scripting, we've talked about live dials, we've talked about robo dials. I want us to transition into talking about text messaging, which I think is one of the main reasons a lot of people join this call. But before I do, I want to lift up a couple of things from the questions and from the chats. First of all, Kimberly mentioned that when she was a stockbroker, pitching was always done on someone's feet, which makes a lot of sense, right? It's similar. We're doing something very similar to doing sales when we're doing voter contact. We also had a question about, does the voter file indicate age? And this is great because it does, and this can be one of the ways you decide if someone falls into a text messaging audience or if they fall into a landline phone call audience. Derek, can you talk a little bit about how voter age might change how you target a voter based on outreach?
Yeah, I think age can be a very telling demographic on the likelihood that somebody is going to respond or engage with whatever tactic you're trying to use. I can tell you, as you can imagine, folks who have landlines still in 2025, that demographic tends to skew a little bit older. And on the opposite end, folks who have near 100% cell phone number coverage, those are going to be in sort of the 40 and under crowd for a lot of it. Now, obviously, there's a fairly healthy mix of folks who have landlines and cell phones. But one of the ways that I use age when I'm thinking about who to text or who to phone call is sort of very dependent on the timing. So let's say I had 2 hours on a Thursday from at noon to 2, right? Not the ideal time to do phone banking, right? The best phone banks are going to be sort of 5 p.m. onward. But I know if I narrow my list down to folks who are over the retirement age, for instance, are more likely to be home during the day, in the afternoon, and you can use that to sort of target your calling again based on when folks are going to be home. You can dramatically increase your connect rates, which therefore impacts your conversion rates, the amount of IDs that you're getting, and things like that. If you use age as sort of a marker for timing more than anything else.
Awesome. One last question about phone calls. Now that every cell phone carrier has caller ID, it seems like people don't answer calls from unknown numbers. How do you get around that? And that's a question that Mark dropped in the chat.
Yeah, Mark, that is a very good question. And admittedly, you've seen connect rates, I think pretty heavy since 2008, decline over time. I think that is a natural consequence of everybody having caller ID on their phone. However, when you are calling from your personal cell phone or something that has like just a local area code to the folks you are calling, you'd be surprised how many folks are still going to pick up the phone. I pick up almost every Maine number that calls me that I don't know. Granted, Maine has one area code. It's pretty easy, 207. But if you're calling from a local area code, especially if you're calling from a cell phone, it's going to pop up with your name, right? Your local area code, and that's going to make people more likely to pick up the phone, which is harder if you're going to be calling from an out-of-state number or something like that. So there is no great answer to it. I think that's the question that if I could give you a very clear answer, I'd be getting paid a whole lot more money, Mark. But it's a sort of an industry-wide thing. But phone banking
I'll tap
is,
in with an additional insight on this one because I think everything you said has been true, where having that local number really helps. The way to take it a step further is relational organizing, where you're having a voter called by someone who they actually know. It both increases the likelihood that they're going to vote for you and the likelihood that they're going to pick up. So if you get your voter rolls, a smart thing to be able to do is to be able to match out really quickly the one of your supporters contact lists with the list of voters that you're trying to reach, and basically identify, okay, these are the voters who you actually know. And there have been some kind of cool softwares produced in the last couple of years, Voter Circle being one that I was first aware of, that helps you to be able to connect voters with people on your campaign or supporters in your network who might know them. And this is even more effective in smaller campaigns because the likelihood, if you're running for city council or you're running for school board in a specific district, the likelihood that someone living in that district who's volunteering for your campaign knowing one of the voters on the voter rolls goes up, right, compared to a statewide campaign. So that would be my best tip around that. If you're really bumping into nobody's picking up on these calls, find a way, look into some of these relational softwares and look for the opportunity to get volunteers calling people who they know, who you know are persuadable voters or voters who are likely to turn out to vote. So that'd be my only sort of extra pro tip on that one. But really great question, Mark. We just cleared the question bank as it currently exists. Keep those questions coming. They are what make these webinars so much fun for Derek and I. Let's talk texting, Derek. This is I think the main event in a lot of ways. And I know that you've said in the past that texting should never be, a one-way exchange. Can you explain a little bit what you mean by that and how campaigns can make texting more interactive?
yeah. Texting should always be treated as a two-way communication tool. I know that the tools that we give to goodparty.org candidates are two-way communication tools. You can see and reply to every single person that engages with your text message. So one of the things I'm going to talk about, and you guys are going to hear me say this phrase, engagement prompts, engagement prompts, engagement prompts, over the course of this training. But if you're not asking a question or prompting a response in your text message, you are really hamstringing yourself on how effective your campaign text messaging can be. And while I do think there are times where it's appropriate if you just wanted to push out an announcement. Again, endorsements sort of come immediately to mind. GOTV information comes to mind. The most successful text campaigns treat texting like a conversation. Messages with engagement prompts. And what I mean by engagement prompts is putting in something like reply yes if you plan to support my campaign. Reply AV if you've already voted, if you're doing some like absentee ballot chase. Text messages that we ran last year that included these engagement prompts had a 51% higher reply rate. It makes such a difference on getting people to engage with your text, which is ultimately what you want. You can get IDs from a text, right? You can't do that with direct mail. You can get IDs from a text. You can't do that from a yard sign, right? So these prompts are going to help you collect the critical data that you need to build your base of supporters so that when you get into the get out the vote section of your campaign, you're able to action that effectively. It also can tell you who's voted and who wants a yard sign and who's ready to volunteer, right? But you're not going to get any of that if you're just treating it as a blast out instead of an opportunity to begin engaging with a voter.
Wow. So 51% higher reply rate just by prompting engagement. That really drives home for me anyways, the value of treating texts like a two-way street, not just a megaphone. Can you share some more examples of good engagement prompts? And also, what are the text messages that tend to perform the best, especially early in a campaign? I think there are a lot of callers on the call now who have November campaigns, so they're probably thinking about how to spin up their first texting effort. What should their scripts look like? What type of prompts should they be using? What's the most effective?
Yeah. So I think if you are putting out your first text into your community, that's going to be an intro bio based text. It should cover your personal background, your professional background, your why you're qualified for the office, and why you wanted to run. Right. Those are sort of the information you want to get across in your first text. A lot of candidates use them as sort of an announcement. Hey, I've decided to run for office. Check out my website. Check out my social media. But the best timing for your intro bio text is about 2.5 months from the beginning of your election. I think there is room to go earlier than that. I think if you do go earlier than 2.5 months, you sort of run the risk of burning your text list, building up that list of folks that are opting out and can't be texted again. Issue-based texts do really, really well if you're talking about, I say issues, but I suppose what I mean is value-based text messages, things that talk about the things that are important to you, the things that are important to your community. Those do really well, like 6 weeks out from the election. And then as you get closer, early vote, absentee chase, sort of pre-E-Day GOTV, that's going to be 1 to 3 days before early vote begins. And then your really strong sort of apolitical public service announcement style, get out the vote text message. That's going to be, the day before or throughout the day on election day. In terms of what engagement prompts work really well, again, reply yes if you support my campaign. Reply VOL if you'd like to volunteer. Reply, you can set the yes to anything. Reply yes if you'd like a yard sign. Reply RSVP if you'd like to attend the event. Reply stop if you'd like to be taken off the list. All of this is very valuable data that you can gather. And it like Rob said, like I said, it increases the engagement and the data you collect so much. What about absentee ballots? What about them, Monica? Absentee ballots or mail-in ballots, it depends on where you live or the district you're in. Chances are your Secretary of State or your Board of Election or your town clerk publishes a list of who's requested an absentee ballot and who has submitted an absentee ballot. And you can, if you are encouraging your supporters to vote early, which you should, you want to bank as many votes before Election Day as you can. You can get that list, you can phone call, you can text through that list and make sure that folks are returning their absentee ballots. When it's dependent on when your absentee ballots drop, but ideally somebody is receiving a text message about their absentee ballot the day that their absentee ballot is hitting mailboxes. And so if September 25th is the day that ballots are available to vote early in your district, Monica, I would recommend sending it out either the 24th or fairly early in the day on the 25th.
Awesome. I see a question in the chatter from Jeffrey Church that offers the perfect, which is, do your tools allow campaign mass text messaging to be DLC compliant, which is, I think, one of Derek's trigger words is 10DLC compliant. So Derek, can you answer this? And then I want to ask you a couple more compliance questions.
Yes, absolutely. So for those of you who aren't familiar with the terminology, a 10DLC, that's a 10-digit long code. That's your phone. That's a phone number, right? And at the end of last year, the cell phone carriers changed a lot of the requirements to become 10DLC compliant. And if I had, or any of us had 2 hours to listen to me rant about what are called campaign verify tokens and the campaign registry and all of the things necessary to get 10 DLC compliant in this cycle. I promise I won't bore you all right now. Most of the texts we run currently are running off of a toll-free number and not a 10 DLC. We can help you, however, get 10 DLC compliant. And if that is something that you are interested in doing, grabbing a local area code for your text message campaigns, you should check in with your assigned political associate. We have spent a good chunk of the last 6 months all talking about 10 DLC compliance, and I'm sure many of them would be willing to sort of walk you through that process. But not to get too deep in the weeds, but we can help you for sure. I don't think it's native to the tool currently, but I'll let Tevin speak to that. I think
yeah, that's actually I get to do the fun part of my job. So we are actually currently developing a text messaging integration with a new vendor that will be fully 10 DLC compliant. We're aiming for within the next month or 5 weeks to hit that.
Yeah, and one of the things that is required for texting compliance oftentimes is you have to have a website, right? And that is one of the reasons that we recently launched a free website builder for goodparty.org candidates, which is definitely worth checking out. Derek, let's pivot into talking more things compliance. Before we wrap up this texting section and get into the demo, what are some of the backend or compliance issues that candidates need to be aware of to make sure that their texts actually get delivered beyond the 10 DLC piece of this?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things I see are public link shorteners will get caught in a carrier's content filter 100% of the time. It will flag the system. So something like a bit.ly or a tiny URL, these are red flags for spam detection. And chances are, if you send out a text with a bit.ly link, it'll fail. It won't get delivered. All caps or aggressive punctuation, act now, will tank your deliverability. If it seems spammy, the carriers will not send it through. Any sort of violent or aggressive phrases, even if it is figurative language, we're going to crush the establishment, right? That is considered violent imagery, and there's a chance that will trigger a block. Emoji overload. This is one that the line for the emoji overload seems to be a little unclear from the carrier side, and that seems to be a little intentional. But a few emojis are fine. But if you've got like 15 emojis in your text message copy, it's going to hit a content filter. Any sort of spammy sales language like limited time, act fast, guaranteed. Again, if it sounds like a spammy sales pitch, the carriers will treat it like a spammy piece of language. The other things, opt-out language is mandatory on text. It's the thing I probably add to candidate scripts the most often. But every text message has got to read reply stop to opt out, stop to end. There's all kinds of different variations. I like to use the full phrase. You should be identifying who you are in like the first sentence or two of the text. Vague intros like, hey, it's me, unless you are an incredibly well-known figure, probably is going to get caught in a content filter. And depending on your jurisdiction, but I think is best practice for every single person running for office, there should be a paid for disclaimer in your text message. This typically goes at the end. This is paid for by the Friends of Derek Lane, if you're my campaign committee. If you don't have a campaign committee, you would just use your name, paid for and authorized by Derek Lane. But these are things that are required under either FCC rules and requirements, or very likely by your own local board of election or election authority.
Awesome. So that's a lot to remember when it comes to what to get right, when it comes to things that can trigger carriers, when it comes to legal compliance, when it comes to messaging cadence and list hygiene. The good news is that our product actually is trained on a lot of the best practices. So it does half of the work for you when you use our AI to draft up a script, which is the perfect segue to introduce Tevin Bell from our product team. Is going to walk you through a demo of our tools. Tevin, please take it away, introduce yourself, and show folks how easy it is to be able to schedule some of these really important outreach texts and calls.
Yeah, we'll do. Well, hey, everyone. I'm Tevin. Like Rob said, I'm on our product team here, which means it's my job to get a lot of feedback from you all and make our tools at least a little bit better every time we ship something new. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and then we'll get moving here. I'll take you all through a few different ways that you can set up robocalls and texts in our product, as well as how you can get started phone banking. Okay. So for all of these pieces of outreach, the most important thing to do at the beginning here is to upgrade to our Pro tier. Because you need voter data for all of these things, and our Pro tier includes voter data. You can do some of these things without voter data by going through your own phone and all of the phones of your volunteers and other people in your campaign, but the quality of our voter data that we get from a nationwide vendor called L2 is incredibly good, updated a lot more often than a lot of small town clerks and other small jurisdictions can handle. And it comes enriched with quite a few other pieces of data as well. So the first piece here is, you can see I'm in our tool, and I've got an election coming up in 12 days. First piece for all of these bits of outreach is we actually bake a lot of these into the campaign plan that we include in our tools. So you can see here I'm 12 days out and I've already got a reminder to schedule my election day text message. Same with my election day robocall, and then planning out some phone banking. So as you go through your campaign and as you come back into our tools, this is a great reminder to actually go and do those things. And we've worked with all of our political associates on when exactly to fit those into a standard campaign. So this is going to be a good first entry point. If you're doing these things a bit out of cycle, you want to do something over and above, we do also have an outreach page where you can come in and schedule outreach across any of the different channels that we offer. And this is all going to be pretty similar, so I'll just go over text messaging as kind of the marquee example here. So you're going to come in here, and the first thing you're going to do is select your audience. If this is an election day reminder, I might want to make sure that I send something out to people who are very, very likely to vote. And you can see here we keep a running cost total, so you can, if you want to, maybe you want to touch first-time voters, or maybe you just want to touch independents, you can see all of those things update live. The next piece here is your script. Now you can do a few different things here. You can come in and generate a new script. This uses our prompts on the back end to integrate a lot of the best practices here. For texting specifically, it's going to be stuff like reply stop to opt out, paid for by Friends of Tevin Bell for Zelienople Borough Council in this example. You can also, if you've done a script before that you really liked or worked through one, you can use a saved one, or if you just want to make one from scratch, by all means, we let you do that as well. So I'm going to use a saved script here. And let's say it's an election day SMS. Come in here, I review the script. You can see here it's got, and I was in there editing it and left an extra F, so we'll correct that. But This includes a lot of the best practices and make sure that it's not going to be spammy. After this, attach an image. For all of the text that we send, we attach an image. It ends up being more cost effective this way. There's some behind the scenes unit economics that makes just text actually cost more than text in a photo. And including a photo there is also a great way to make sure that it's a little bit more human. You can see here, I'll include a nice big image of my face. And after this, you schedule it. Right now, we do have a 3-day lead time. We make sure that our political associates get eyes on all of these things to help you catch any mistakes you might have made, any pitfalls you might have fallen into. And so let's say the 27th sounds great. And then so that I don't actually alert the team, I won't hit schedule here, but you can hit schedule. And then it'll show up here in your outreach campaigns. So it works the same for robocalls. The only slightly different one here is phone banking. And when you go ahead and you do phone banking, you can come here and download your list of numbers to call, and you can copy your script in case you want to keep it on a Google Doc or share that out to your volunteers. So those are the big three. Like I said, you can also generate your content ahead of time if you'd like. So here I've gone ahead and created an election day SMS. We also allow you to, if you don't particularly like a draft here, you could say something like, make this more relatable to seniors. And you can go ahead and it'll take your direction into account and tailor the message to who you're trying to tailor it to. We also offer translation for those of you that are in different districts where English might not be the first language for a large swath of people. And I think that is it. Yeah, it's pretty easy. Within 5 or 10 minutes, you can have a solid first draft of a text, drafted out and scheduled, sent over to our PA team so that you can get it out as soon as you need to. Okay.
Awesome.
Rob, I'll let you take it back.
Paul asks a question that I think I'll let you answer, Tevin. Do we also provide an auto dialer for live phone calls?
Yeah, so we don't currently provide an auto dialer. That is something that we're looking into. We wanted to take care of texting as a sort of first stab here because of all of the 10DLC compliance rules. We want to make sure that we're keeping you all compliant. So an auto dialer is on our radar, and it is a little bit farther out. Mm-hmm. Oh, and then Barbara, looks like you also asked, where do you get your data again? So all of our voter data comes from a national voter data provider called L2. There's one of the leaders in the industry. They do a lot of work with cleaning and supplementing their data. And we found that their data is very high quality and is updated fairly often, or at least much more often than like a town clerk might be able to get to, or heaven forbid you're in a college town. Those voter rolls are always very, very difficult, but we found L2 to be a very reliable source there.
Yeah, and Tevin, we have a question from Lewis who said, did you say something about the website creator? This is a new enough feature that if it's not too much of a hassle for you, I'd love for you to just share your screen and show
No, it isn't.
Review of that. And while Kevin is pulling that up, I'd like to ask our call producers to go ahead and drop the survey that we typically do at this point. This is also a good time for people to get in their final questions. We're going to do about 15 to 20 minutes worth of Q&A, as long as there are. We have about 6 questions built up in the queue, but now's a good time for anyone on the calls to get their questions in. But Tevin, please take it away.
Awesome. Okay. So we recently launched this website editor. You can come over here and I'm screwing around with a couple things because I've already made a website with this particular account. But really what it does is it leads you through a 6-step process. You can see a little preview of your website here. Really what it is a quick one-page site that includes a lot of the prerequisites for 10DLC compliance. So it's got your banner. We let you put a photo up here as well. You can put your logo in up above if you'd like to. We include some messaging around your issues, and then there's a spot for voters to send you messages. We also bake into this. This is a little bit less. I don't know, less visible, but we bake in a lot of the language for 10DLC compliance around sending messages that you actually let people do a stop to opt out, as well as a privacy policy that is exactly what the people over at the campaign registry are looking for out of your site. So this is a really, really good feature that as we've recently released, and we're still working on a few improvements here and there. The next up piece is actually giving you all the ability to buy your own domain. So here you can see I've got another test account that takes this particular URL, but for free, we'll host it for you at goodparty.org/c/whatever you'd like here. I can't use Tevin Bell because, like I said, I've already got a Tevin Bell there. But the next piece that we're releasing is letting you have something like, in my case, maybe Tevin Bell for zealandopalboroughcouncil.com. And doing all of that and getting your website set up with your own domain. We actually don't mark up any of the domains. Anything you buy on our product, we give to you at cost. We're not trying to make any money off of you all here. We're trying to make sure that more normal people can run for office. So really, if you see that a domain is an unfortunate $50 or something, that's pretty rare, especially if you've got a specific domain. But just know that that is exactly what our vendors are charging us, and we're not passing on any markup to you. But yeah, so building your website, purchasing your domain, that is going to be a great way for you to get set up as we're launching our new texting integration to be 10DLC compliant.
Awesome. Well, bringing Derek back on, with all of this, how much does this service cost me? You know, the website builder, the text messaging in general. What's the cost on all of this?
Yeah, let's see if I can unmute myself. So a Good Party Pro subscription only costs $10 a month. And like Tevin just said, everything else, the text messages, the robocalls are all done at cost for you guys. So the at cost for a text message is 3.5 cents a message. And that will only kick in if you choose the 5,000 free text promotion. You know, it won't kick in until after those 5,000 texts, up to 5,000 texts for your first campaign have been hit. And the robocalls, I believe, run 4.6 cents per message. So,
yeah. Well, thank you to Robert from Mississippi for that question. We have another question here from Andrew in Massachusetts who says, how do you select the best voters to reach out to? And I think this depends on what the phase of the campaign is as much as anything. You reach out to different targets, announcing and just raising, for example, and when you're trying to turn people out to vote. But Derek, can you talk about different voting universes you would use at different times in a campaign, particularly for texting?
yeah, so I think again, it's very dependent. First of all, on the size of your community. If your win number is up over 100,000, you know, this might be a little bit different for you than if you are running a campaign and your win number is 1,000. But I would say for your first text message, your intro bio, you want to go fairly broad with that. You want as many people in town to know that what your name is and that you are running for office. as you can. And then sort of throughout the course of the campaign, who you will reach out to will be dependent on the data that you're receiving in return through your text, your robocalls, your canvassing, your phone calls. But as you sort of progress throughout the course of the campaign, you will be able to recognize and we'll be able to analyze some of that data on the back end and figure out what types of voters are supporting my campaign, what types of voters are hitting us with the highest percent of they want to learn more, they're undecided, they haven't made up their mind. And then as you move into the sort of get out the vote phase of the campaign, I mean, that is almost entirely, or should be entirely, either known supporters or modeled supporters. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, we don't want to push out 1,500 people who are going to vote against you. Oh, Tom is asking a question. I'll jump from my question and say canvassing is the best. Canvassing is the absolute #1 tool you have in your toolbox, Tom. Face-to-face interactions, eyeballs to eyeballs, is always best. I may be biased. I did canvassing for 10 years, so I might be biased, but it's the best.
Another question here coming from Lewis in Utah. Lewis says that as a pro candidate, he got 50 free signs and is wondering if he is also eligible to get free texts. And it's a choice between the two when you initially sign up. But the good news, Lewis, is there are lots of ways to earn free text messages. Our goodparty.org community on Circle actually has a leaderboard, and every time that you post, comment, get a like, or complete a lesson in one of the courses that are there, you get a point, and you're able to earn cumulatively actually 10,000 free text messages by being an active member in our community. You can even earn 5,000 free robocalls on top of that. And the idea here is that this community is where we're building best practices. Every time that you ask a question or share something that you're trying, the entire community learns from it. So we're incentivizing participation, and we're incentivizing building a community of independent, people-powered, and anti-corruption campaigners. So you missed out on the first 5,000 because you got your 50 free signs, but you have not missed out on the ability to get free texts. You'll just have to do a little bit of posting to be able to get there. Another question coming from Barbara: if I already have a website, what can I do? Also, how do I access these tools? So if we could drop in the chat the sign up for goodparty.org and how you can sign up for the tools that we have in the dashboard. But if you already have a website, you either can likely assign that domain to the page that you build through the website builder. That will be coming. That's one of the things that we were talking about. But if you already have a website and you think that it is working well for you, there are other tools for you in the tool suite. But this might be a suitable replacement for a website. It might be something that will save you some money, especially if you're getting charged a monthly hosting fee or something like that. Another question here. So Lewis says, so this is both early and late. We are mail-in voting, and ballots delivered 2 days ago for the primary. We'll know after August 12th if I'm in the general in November. I'm not really a question in there, but we're pulling for you, Lewis. We hope that your campaign goes well and that you're able to make it onto the ballot for November. Adrian Adams says, I have a website that I made. Would your service allow for hosting or just creating of the web page? Do you want to answer that one, Tevin?
Yeah, I can take that one. So the way that we have it set up right now, you're actually in the pretty small minority of our candidates that have gone ahead and set up a website. So in order to reach as many people as we could and make this valuable for them, our site is a standalone site that you can have and stand up Your options, if you already have a domain purchased and you're using a site, there are some options there for redirecting to our site, or you can replace and get it built up through us. But those are really kind of your two main choices there. So honestly, good on you for already having a site set up and having gone through that whole process. So I've set up a few sites myself from scratch, and I know it is kind of a pain going to all of the different places you need to make sure that's hosted and live and bug free.
Another good question to throw to Tevin. This is from Jeffrey Church, who says, is a goodparty.com/campaign/name website compliant with 10DLC? I thought you needed campaign/name.com website.
Jeffrey, yes, you are absolutely correct. And that is why we are following up with letting people purchase their own domains. So we wanted to make sure that everybody could have a website, even the candidates on the free tier of our product. But once we introduce the ability to purchase your own domain, we're going to be following that up with a little bit of a compliance feature that guides you through exactly what you need to do to become 10DLC compliant. And the three big steps there are setting up your website with us, purchasing a domain and having your website on that domain, which we'll do for you. All you have to do is pick a domain and purchase it through our site. And then you'll need to fill out a short form with a lot of the different information, including where your actual election filing is hosted by your election authority. So yes, you are right. And that is something we're working up towards, Jeff.
So stay tuned. Very shortly, we should be able to get it over the line on that. A question from Greg in Ohio. This one I'm going to throw to Derek. Greg asks, will we be able to see the responses from recipients of the texts? What type of data did it get back?
Yeah, so absolutely, you are able to see and reply to all of the responses that come in through the text campaign. So you would do that live while the text campaign is out. And then after the campaign is over, which is typically, just for you guys, I get this question from candidates a lot, it's typically 48 hours after the campaign launches or 24 hours since the last response. You will receive a top line report, as well as a few different data sets, one that contains the deliverability data and another that actually puts out all of the replies and responses back and forth. So that is standard for candidates after their text campaign is complete.
Awesome. And from Tracy in Washington, Tracy asks, how do we find data to figure out how to send the texts to? And that's sign up for goodparty.org's pro services. Again, $10 a month. We provide data that we get from L2. That data is enriched with scores. It's enriched with a lot of commercial information. So it's better than what you might get from the Secretary of State or a raw data file that you get from the state. It's kept up to date a little bit better. And yeah, so goodparty.org's pro services are by far the cheapest, easiest way to get some of the most accurate data that's available. And then last but not least, Barbara says, if I have 10 DLC compliance, can I still use your database? And yes, you absolutely can. If you have compliance all sorted out already on your end, and you've got a compliant website sorted out on your end, yes, absolutely. You can set that up through goodparty.org. I believe we have cleared all of the questions through the question queue. Final thoughts, I would say. Oh, well, one more here from Jeffrey Church. Derek, do you only serve one candidate per election? If I sign up, would you also take my opponent's sign up? We will work with any candidate, full stop, who can pass our pledge. which is independent, people-powered, and anti-corruption, as well as civil. We have had, in some instances, candidates who have run in the same exact race and who have run against each other. The majority of time, this has happened in multi-winner races. So it wasn't really that much of an issue. But at the end of the day, we want these tools to be available to as many people as possible. If they are running as independents, meaning not a Republican or a Democrat, they can be any type of independent, any ideology. As long as they're people powered, meaning that they're getting a majority of their funding from people, living people, not from corporations or unions or other big moneyed special interests. And as long as they're anti-corruption, meaning that they're going to stay transparent, both about their views when they're running for office and also to their constituents once they are elected into office. And we're excited to be working on some tools for people who are serving currently that we'll be able to introduce soon. And then the final part of this, of course, is we only work with people who run civil campaigns, no one who participates in any form of hate speech. So if you can pass that user agreement, we'll work with you regardless of who you're running against. And at the end of the day, the more choices voters have, the better. Well, this is a good time to plug two links that I'm going to ask our producers to drop into the chat for you. The first is to join goodparty.org's community on Circle. Circle is the community that I shared with the leaderboard, where you can earn up to 10,000 free text messages and 5,000 robocalls just by being there, just by being a member of the community. It's also where we post all the recordings of trainings that we do every 2 weeks. There are hundreds of hours of trainings that you can find on Circle, just like this one, on a variety of topics, everything from how to run digital ads to how to run an effective Get Out the Vote campaign. I also want to share a link to the next training that we're doing in 2 weeks. This training that we're doing in 2 weeks is going to focus in on even more direct mail and paid media strategies. So we're going to talk about how you can use mail, just like we did with texting, to be able to reach voters effectively using Good Party's tools, as well as just general best practices. So looking forward to that in 2 weeks. And then finally, you can always find goodparty.org's tools at goodparty.org. That's the best place to schedule a demo for any of our tools. Derek, I'll give you sort of the Jerry Springer final thoughts moment. Any last words of advice on text messaging to wrap us up?
Do it. This is my biggest piece of advice, guys. Send out a text. If you have a race in August, and I see more than a few of you guys in my August election cycle candidates hanging out here in the panels, sign up for Pro, schedule your text. The sooner you get your text scheduled, the better. A lot of folks are receiving, like somebody said here, ballots dropped in their district 2 days ago. The best time to send your text was 2 days ago, guys. All right, schedule them, get them up on the board, talk to your political associate if you need feedback on your script, but make it happen, guys. Reach out to voters, have a conversation with them, tell them why you're voting. Do the thing, guys. Do the thing, get the data.
Awesome. Thank you all. This has been a lot of fun. We will see you in 2 weeks to talk about mail and media. Thank you to Derek and to Tevin. We will see you in 2 weeks. Bye, everyone.